Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So, I'm just going to be going over a list of 6 books that I would recommend anybody read. Books that personally helped me out a lot, that taught me a lot, that opened my eyes to the world around me, that got me thinking about the world around me in a much deeper way, that have given me so much, and that I go back to time and time again just to reabsorb the information or in many cases to absorb information that I didn't read right, or that I didn't fully process the first time or the second time that I read the book. Right. This list is in no particular order, by the way. So, book number one is the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch, I believe, is labeled as Apocrypha. Um, a book that was once found in the Bible but was later removed for various reasons. I think the official reason that is given is that it's considered unbiblical, or not. It can't be fully trusted to be considered biblical. I think that's the official explanation. But if you ask me, I think that's just more of a smokescreen. I think that's just the reason that is given to the masses so that most people who are familiar with the Bible, for example, will be swayed away from reading the Apocrypha, which contain a lot of information that just adds to a lot of things mentioned in the Bible. Right? You read the Apocrypha, you read the Bible, you start to see that they are very heavily linked, and that they most likely, again, at one point in time, were in the same book altogether. Right? I think that's actually a fact. I think the Ethiopian Bible actually includes the Apocrypha, for instance, and the Ethiopian Bible is the world's oldest Bible, I believe. So the Book of Enoch just deals with a wide variety of things, ranging from the fallen angels, their time here on Earth, um, the reasons as to why they rebelled against God, what they taught humanity, for instance. It centers around Enoch, who is an ancestor of Noah, right? The Noah that built the ark. Um, so, a lot of interesting details in the Book of Enoch, a lot of eye opening information. Again, I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. Simply read the book and come to your own conclusions. Book number two might be one that is on a lot of people's lists, one that's heavily recommended, but I think it's for good reason, and that's Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That's one of the first books that I read during my time in college. During my first few semesters of college, I vividly remember reading that book. Is one of the first books that I remember during my time. Remember reading during my time in college. There's a lot of great information with regards to finances, with the way most people handle money, how to handle money, and it just offers us a different perspective than the one where a lot of people are brainwashed into following, right? This idea that we have to study hard for 10 to 15 years, get a 9 to 5, work for somebody else for 40 plus years if you're lucky, and then retire, and it's happily ever after, right? That's kind of the idea that's given to us from the moment we enter the public school system, and in most of our cases, right? Um, but Robert Kiyosaki basically offers us this his perspective, right? And he gives us um, different paths that we weren't taught in school, right? The idea that you can be self-employed, that you can invest your money and have it work for you, that you can be a business owner or a large business owner, right? Not everybody's meant to do those things, but I really resonate with the idea of being self-reliant, right? Not having to work for somebody else, which is again what most people are taught. Um, Most people aren't taught about the financial system or about how money works in general, right? And for a reason, right? People that are financially illiterate are more easily manipulated by those that do understand the financial system, that do understand how money works, right? Um, so it's a great book, very eye opening, and I highly recommend it. Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Book number 3 is the Bible, and a lot of people get triggered when you mention religion. They start slandering it and calling it fantasy or fairy tales, right? They don't even give it a chance, um, which is what I'm just encouraging you to do in this video, right? Give it a chance. Do your own research. You start to quickly realize, hopefully, that the Bible is the truth. There's so much wisdom, timeless wisdom. There's a reason the Bible is the most sold book of all time, right? Or the most popular book of all time. Um, there are so many layers to the Bible. It is absolutely unbelievable. A lot of great lessons, right, in the New Testament and the Old. If there's one book from this list that I would put above the rest, it would be the Bible, right? If there's one book I recommend you read, first and foremost, it's the Bible. It has everything you need, literally. Um, Look into the history, look into the events that happen, and again, you quickly start to realize that it's the truth, right? And it's heavily criticized, it's heavily attacked for a reason. Book number 4 is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Cormac McCarthy is the author who wrote No Country for Old Men, or I believe it's called, and that was later adopted into a movie, a very good movie at that. So is The Road. It was adapted into a movie, and it's a great movie as well. The Road basically deals with two characters, right? A father and a son that are living in this post-apocalyptic world that is just super, just draining, straight up depressing, right? This gray world that was ravished by a nuclear disaster, um, and the dynamic between the father and son. The lessons, the themes in the book are very beautiful, and honestly, um, uh, it's a tearjerker, right? The book, it touches upon the importance of having a strong male role model in your life. It teaches the importance of having somebody again to look up to kind of guide you along the way, to protect you from the evil of the world, to give you a better life than they had, right? The bond between a father and son, the beautiful bond between a father and son, um, I think is one of the central themes of the book, and I highly recommend it, right? It's a very beautiful story. Book number 5 is The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Again, it kind of touches upon some of the ideas that are found in Rich Dad Poor Dad. Um, Again, it's one of the first books that I read when it came to this area of life, right? Finances, the workplace, right? Kind of that world. Um, and basically, it talks about Tim Ferriss, who was a student at Princeton, I believe, or he went to a very prestigious university, but then he started kind of questioning the things that he was doing and the kind of lifestyle that he was living, right? Kind of just going down this path of the traditional path, right? Which again, there's nothing wrong with that if you decide to do that. But he kind of started questioning things. He started kind of thinking, is there a better way to do things? Is there a way that I can have more time to pursue the things that I want to do, right? And he kind of started experimenting some of the ideas that he had. Experimenting with some of the ideas that he had. This book touches upon self-employment and entrepreneurship heavily, right? So that's kind of like the meat and potatoes of the book, just kind of through the lens of Tim Ferriss. It's a great book. Again, it gets you thinking into what's possible, into it offers an alternative, right, to the lifestyle that most of us are told is normal, right? This kind of work for somebody else, 9 to 5, 40 hours a week. And then, like I said, it's very related to some of the ideas found in Rich Dad Poor Dad. So that's book number 5. And the last book is called We Want to Live by Augenis Vonderplanitz. I'll say that again because his name is kind of hard to pronounce. We Want to Live by Augenis Vonderplanitz. And there's a lot of great information on this guy. It will be kind of hard to find it on YouTube, but if you can't find it on YouTube, look for it on BitChute, BitChute.com. There's a lot of great stuff surrounding the guy. So basically, to kind of summarize Augenis Vonderplanitz's story, and some of the things mentioned in the book is how basically he changed his life just by the way that he ate, right? And I know it sounds simple and cliche, but it's so true. Diet and what you eat is how you're gonna feel, and the quality of life that you're gonna experience in a very large way, right? We're told, and I'm sure you've heard it, that you are what you eat, but I think this is such a platitude that is repeated over and over again that the importance of it kind of flies by over people's heads, right? Um, you are what you eat. Augenis, he talks about his story. He talks about how when growing up he was a very sickly child. Um, and again, I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. Research these things yourself. Come to your own conclusions. But I found that a lot of things that he mentions in his book um, are right on the money. Right? They are very eye opening. And again, he talks about his story. How growing up he was very sickly. How he was very frail. He had a lot of issues. And once he started changing the way that he ate, and some of the things he talks about when it comes to nutrition, and common ideas that we have about food that are just completely wrong, that are actually making us sick. He touches upon the healthcare industry, right, or the healthcare field, and I won't go too much into detail regarding that. But again, he talks about all these things put in one through his lens, through his story, through his personal experience, and again, it's very eye-opening stuff. So yeah, that's the list. If you have any books that you would recommend to others that helped you out, that opened your eyes, and you know, leave the name of the book or books down in the comments below. This is just my list. Once again, this list is in no particular order. These are books that again just helped me out, and that I felt would could potentially help others out. At the end of the day, and like I said, like I say in many of my videos, do your own research and come to your own conclusions. I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. If you made it this far, again, leave your suggestions below, and I'll see you guys next time.